guys, continuing on with our Star Wars series. Today we're going to review Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, which was released in 1980 and was directed by Irvin Kershner.
So The Empire Strikes Back, when it first released, actually got a good amount of hate towards it. Not a lot of people... It was really different than the first one that came out, so not a lot of people liked it. A lot of people had to watch it multiple times to understand a lot of the stuff that was happening. But once it, matured, and obviously after a few years, it's definitely become one of the, if not the best Star Wars movie of all time. It's just a really complete movie. Some of the things I like about it, though, is you can definitely tell that he got a bigger budget in this movie. There's a lot more different locations that they go throughout the movie, and a lot cooler scenes of him, showing off how big the Empire is and whatnot. So I really liked those parts of the movies.
Yeah, that's you actually don't visit any of the same planets that you visited in Episode 4 in this one. They're all new planets, which just goes to show how awesome the world building is in this movie too. You go to all these new planets. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but there's a lot of things in the dialogue that you can say, like, oh, back when I was on this planet or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in the movie that you didn't necessarily know what was happening, but it just builds upon the whole story in general.
Yeah, exactly. Like different creatures that pop up as well. Like the Minox in the giant worm cave that they're in. Not just things through dialogue or showing new planets, or even new creatures, but just showing something like Han getting frozen in carbonite. That's just another way to world build this place and show the different technology that it has.
Another thing I liked was we saw the first big land battle of the Star Wars universe, which was really cool, the Hoth battle, and I thought it was excellently filmed and stuff. It was awesome.
I know, yeah, that was really the first time the audiences could see the first land battle in a Star Wars movie. And it was great. The Battle of Hoth is so exciting, and it's pretty long, too, actually. The special effects in that scene are incredible, of course.
It was cool to see the different weapons that the Rebels had, which was really cool.
Yeah, like the ion cannons that were able to shoot the Star Destroyers in space.
Exactly. It was cool just to see that they had built all this on a planet that had no life at all.
Which, I totally forgot to mention how awesome the set design is in this movie, too. It's synonymous with Episode 4 set design. It feels like the same universe, yet you can tell they're in completely different areas, like on Hoth. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right, man. The larger budget totally shows.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I really liked the continuity from the first one as well. Like you said, it is a different film just because it goes in a very different direction than the first one did. But continuity-wise, it picks up 3 years later, and it picks up on the same story threads. The rebels are now hiding from the Empire because the Empire knows about their base on Yavin 4. Mm-hmm. The Empire is searching for the rebels by putting out those probe droids, searching for them everywhere across the galaxy. They even said there's thousands of them. Yeah, you pick up on the same story threads as far as Han still owing a debt to Jabba the Hutt. Mm-hmm. I love how they picked up on that in this one. It's shown in Episode 4, and again, it kind of picks up here how he needs to go repay this debt to Jabba.
And another thing I liked is Luke's development. He still doesn't know much about the Force at all. He's still, you see in the cave, he's struggling. He doesn't just grab the lightsaber with the Force. He's has to really think about it and pause to actually use the Force. So he's not just all of a sudden some Force master or anything, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, of course. I really liked that this one had the romance aspect between Han and Leia. That worked so well, the chemistry between them, them going back and forth at each other, Han trying to get with Leia all the time, Leia just shutting him down. On top of that, they had a lot of good jokes, especially in between the four characters, 3PO, Han Solo, Leia, and Chewbacca when they're on the Falcon.
I love Han and C-3PO's dynamic. Yes. It's so funny.
Yeah, the dynamic between all four of those characters when they're in the Falcon hiding from the Empire, it's just awesome. I love being with that group of characters. Oh, yeah. Just like Episode 4, this one has a feeling of adventure and excitement all throughout. I didn't want to tear my eyes away from the screen at any moment in the film. It's just constantly going. Which, again, for a film made in 1980, for audiences today to still feel that way, that's saying something.
Oh, yeah. It's been able to withstand the test of time. Every generation, even kids, just being born, they all love Star Wars because it's just a really good film.
Yeah. Also in this one, I love that each main character has their own hero moment.
Oh, yeah.
Luke has his during the Battle of Hoth, when he destroys the AT-AT walker, and he comes back at the end to fight Vader, which of course he does lose. But that's part of character growth.
Mm-hmm.
He still showed true heroism in just coming back to save his friends.
That's not the only thing he lost.
Oof. That's true. Lando has his when he redeems himself at the end. He decides to stand up to the Empire and help the rebellion. Han has his toward the beginning when he goes out in the snowstorm to rescue Luke, risking his life to do so. Of course, Princess Leia has hers towards the beginning as well in the Battle of Hoth when she's commanding troops all over the place.
Making sure everyone's able to escape safely before she even escaped.
Yeah, she was like the last one out of the base, which is of course an exciting moment as well, them escaping on the Millennium Falcon at the very last second from Vader.
Which that's another thing that I liked. Like the Falcon was, having to be repaired this whole time. They're trying to escape the Empire while also trying to fix their
hyperdrive
piece of junk.
Yeah, I love the running gag. All the stuff on Dagobah with Luke meeting Yoda and Luke being trained by Yoda is such Star Wars gold to me. I love those scenes so much when Yoda is teaching him about the Force and the audience is able to learn so much about the Force. Because there's so many questions you have left over from Episode 4. And Yoda starts answering those for you.
Because you don't know much about the Force if you're just watching this, hadn't watched anything else. The Force is really an unknown for the audience. So it was really important, the whole Dagobah scene for the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. And that scene where Luke goes into like the dark part of Dagobah and fights Vader. That scene is trippy and I love it. Also, Hunter, I thought it was interesting how Yoda and Obi-Wan were trying to tell Luke to not go save his friends.
It was interesting. It seems like the Jedi aren't always perfect, and they're trying to save their own selves instead of the life of others sometimes.
Yeah, it seems like they're putting their rules ahead of saving lives.
Which is definitely one of the flaws that we see with the Jedi.
Well, I mean, that's just a continued thread from the prequels, really. And I love how the flaws of the Jedi are still shown in Episode 5.
Yeah.
It just makes the story seem all that much more connected. This is the first movie where we see Force ghosts as well. We get to see Obi-Wan come back as a Force ghost, which is an ability we'd never seen before. This movie, its influence can still be felt today. Nowadays, when movie sequels come out, they're pushed as being a darker sequel. That's just like standard today.
Yeah.
But that's because The Empire Strikes Back made it so. The Empire Strikes Back was a darker sequel to A New Hope.
Yep. No Death Star was blown up in this one.
So yeah, its influence is just like still felt 40 years later, which is crazy. Also, we have that awesome lightsaber duel between Luke and Vader. Finally, it's built up to this for so long. And that lightsaber duel is long, it's great, I love it, and then it leads up to the greatest twist in movie history. I can't think of anything that even comes close to Vader being Luke's father. And then you have Luke losing his hand, he falls down the giant pit, he reaches out into the Force and to Leia, and she's able to hear him, and she saves him. And then you have the rebels at the very end looking out onto that star system. It's beautiful, I love the art design in this movie. And then we get that awesome cliffhanger ending. You don't really know what's going to happen next. Han Solo is taken away by Boba Fett. He's frozen in carbonite. You have the rebels mentioning a plan, but you don't really know what it is or like what's going to happen in the next one. You just want to see it.
Yeah. Another cool thing is we see the Empire resorting to going to bounty hunters. And it was cool, obviously, to see Boba Fett because he's one of the most iconic bounty hunters of all time.
Of course, yeah.
So I thought that was really cool to see that.
Yeah, I agree. I liked that scene with all the bounty hunters. Totally just makes the world feel that much larger as well. Hunter, the dialogue in this movie is so good. There's so many quotable lines. It's hilarious. Every line just adds to the movie for me. It either adds something to the character arcs, something to the world building, a funny joke, or just a line of wisdom from Yoda. Speaking of Yoda, the animatronics and the puppetry that they did for him was awesome. Like, there's no CGI done back then. They did such a great job with Yoda. I mean, he's just a puppet, but he's totally a believable character. So, Hunter, I, for one, have no cons with this movie at all. I think it is an absolutely perfect movie. Hunter, do you have any cons with this movie at all?
I do not have any cons. It's a perfect movie.
Sweet. We're in agreement.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to give this movie a perfect 10 out of 10.
Obviously, it's a 10.1 out of 10. It's one step above. It's an amazing movie.
Yep. And it's tied for my number 2 placement of greatest movies ever made with Star Wars Episode 4.
Mhm.
So, well, guys, thanks for checking out our review of Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Please make sure to like and subscribe and let us know what you think of this awesome classic in the comments below. And we'll see you for our next review.